Welcome to Bridging Gaps, the business podcast sharing the challenges and stories of fellow business owners.
This week is the final episode focusing on microbiz matters. A week after the event itself, I met up with Tina Boden, one of the co-founders, to just find out how she was feeling and I guess just kind of close it off. So I'll be sharing that conversation with you. And you might recall that I shared a little excerpt from my interview with Richard Woods. In this episode, I want to share the rest of that conversation because, as ever, Richard has loads of advice and guidance, and he's just a really generous and interesting guy to talk to when it comes down to micro businesses, lead generation, and well, you'll hear it for yourself in this episode. So join me now as I start my conversation with Tina.
Microbusiness, 1 week on.
I know. So it's been a week and it was obviously a long day followed by a Lord's Mayor dinner in celebration of you and Tony and the day. So I just wanted to see how you're feeling, how you felt it went, how you felt on the day. Just how are you essentially? Following Microbiz Matters.
I've recovered, Deborah. Yeah, Deborah, that's great. Thank you. Microbiz Matters Day 2019 was a fabulous day, but it's like organising any major event, which Tony and I obviously co-founded it, co-funded it, we co-organise it. We have assistants. We had marvellous assistants from Charles Cracknell and Mike Noter, Antonio and Graham Henderson from Hull City Council, and they were fabulous. Without them, it wouldn't have happened. And yes, we did have a lovely dinner afterwards, the Lord Mayor's dinner, which was fantastic. I think there were about 30 of us, some of the young people from the John Cracknell Youth Enterprise Bank and making changes for careers, and some of the mentors. So yes, that was great. But it's also a very long day. We don't get really finished off until later on the Thursday, and then you're up at 5 to get started at 7. And of course, interviewing people without a script for 8 hours is a long day. It's not just mentally exhausting, it's physically exhausting, and you feel absolutely drained at the end of it. So I was locked away in the studio, and we've got really great interviews, including yourself. 8 hours of YouTube. If anybody's got 8 hours to spare, what I do recommend is that you maybe break it down into bite-sized bits. But 8 hours of YouTube on our Microbiz Matters YouTube channel. All sorts of survive and thrive tips and hints for people around different subjects. So that was, I think we had about 30 guests.
That's amazing.
Either joining us by Google Hangout or live in the studio. And then Tony was in the main area, the banqueting hall, I think it was, at the Guild Hall. And he was doing lots of different interviews, including the Forum of Private Business, who also did a workshop, the FSB, Paul Upal, the Small Business Commissioner, who came to join us on the day, it was really good to see him there and to be dealing with the Pay in 30 Days campaign, which is a Microbiz Matters Day campaign, but one that Tony's had the bit between his teeth of for years, 20-some years.
And to the point that he's now got it printed on his clothing.
Yeah, he has a 30 hashtag Pay in 30 Days, which is he's also got his big red top hat has now got hashtag Microbiz Matters across the front of it as well. So he's emblazoned and branded, and there we go.
I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, I mean, we had people come from Newcastle, we had people come from Worcestershire, people travel from London. We had about 200 guests in the main banqueting hall. We had the young people with their stands and exhibits talking about their business. So it was a really great day. And of course, 2020 is coming live from Preston.
So what happens between now and 2020, or is it too early for you to even have that in your mind?
Well, what happens, there's usually a period of over the next month or so where we are quite quiet in as much as we've done stuff. And we look at what we've got from the I Gave 11 donations, where people have given 11 hints and tips, or 11 pieces of advice, or 11 pledges, or whatever it is they're doing. We look at all of that and we meet up, and we're meeting up in February with Paul Lancaster, because Paul has been with us right from the start and is an absolutely awesome guy, and he will be taking over more responsibility. Tony and I aren't stepping down as hosting, but we are going to be doing just a little bit less around the organising leading up to 2020, which will be at EKM, who are fabulous supporters of ours over the last few years. They're an e-commerce platform based in Preston. So Paul's going to be liaising more with them and doing the planning, which will be quite nice. And then we can focus on hosting, but we'll still be looking at all the content we've got. We're hopefully going to be making some short videos from the content that we've got, not just from this year, but from the 4 years before that as well. And looking at how we can then expand that into advice and guidance from Tony and I, from other people that are experts in the areas of the subjects that they discussed or what they came on as guests to talk about. So, yeah.
Excellent. So lots happening once you've had a bit of a lull and recovery time and time to figure out what your life is normally about.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, I have 2 other businesses as well as Microbiz Matters. So I have the B&B Keeper and the Tiny Troubleshooter. The B&B Keeper, I work all over the country, relief management for hospitality. The Tiny Troubleshooter, I work with micro businesses to help them with strategy, development, growth, whatever it is they need to do to solve a problem within their micro business. Or not even solve a problem. Sometimes it's doing something before it becomes a problem. Or I work with some to do social media and marketing management, and most of that is done remotely, but that all takes up my time, because the thing is, Tony and I have to earn a living. He does his tour, and we both do speaking, and we do writing, and I'm writing at the moment a monthly article for the Luxury B&B magazine, and all of that stuff takes up our time, but it all allows us to carry on showing the importance of micro business and sharing our advice and sharing the advice of others as well, because it is about the power of plenty, as we kept saying in last week and leading up to it. The power of plenty is important. So it's not just about Tony and I, but it's about bringing together all that knowledge that you've got and that your network's got, and sharing it and continuing to share it. And it might not be shared in the same way through the social media channels, but the different avenues that we have to do it.
Now, that's excellent. And as you say, you're living the micro business as well. So it's not that you're coming in with no awareness. You know what people are going through and have been there or are going through it yourself at the same time, which I think has a big impact in being able to understand what the challenges are that people need, as well as the pluses.
Yeah, and I think for me, the Tiny Troubleshooter work. So I am working with micro business owners who are maybe, usually you don't get a troubleshooter in unless you've got a problem. And so you're dealing with the day-to-day problems of micro business owners. Tony and I get that anyway. We receive emails, we receive messages through social media. And, over the last 2 months, I've been speaking to so many people who are really struggling, and it's just a constant battle, but they keep going, we're playing catch up, we're doing this, it's that. And but the importance for me, and also with the B&B Keeper, because it's a terrible time for the hospitality industry at the moment, is that quiet time. Dry January is a killer for pubs, and the hospitality industry, people aren't booking, the B&B industry, the hotel industry, people aren't booking ahead like they used to, so there's no sort of guarantee of all of the bookings that they had. And all of that makes me very aware of what's going on at the grassroots level. So when I am speaking to audiences of people who might have micro businesses for customers, if they're a corporate organisation, or people who are thinking of starting up in business, like on Tuesday, I'll be in Leeds delivering Is Self-Employment Right for You? But it's from the heart. It's not only from the heart for the last 30 years of knowledge that I've had. It's actually what's going on right now, up to the minute, real-time stuff, because I'm real-time either working in as relief for a micro business or helping them to solve problems. So, yeah.
Well, it's really wonderful to talk to you, Tina, and I've really enjoyed the conversations with you and Tony in the lead up to Microbiz Matters Day, and being on it and watching it as well, and watching the different interviews and things that you've had. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. And if anybody sees Tony Robinson at the moment traveling around the UK, do let me know, because I think it was all too much for him, and he's now off doing all sorts of amazing things, and that's why he's not here with me today.
He was kind of like, I can't do that day. Tina will be fine.
Yeah, I'll be. I just, we as business partners, we don't spend a vast amount of time together in the same place. We communicate via email and stuff, but we don't, and it works really well. So that's what's good.
So in this case, distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, and he's an absolutely awesome guy, and I might have joked last week about not working with animals, children, or Tony Robinson OBE, but I wouldn't be without him.
No, well, and as I said, it was just great. I think because when I interviewed you as well, when we were talking, you were in the room together as well. And so just having that, banter and rapport is obvious between the two of you, which is really fantastic. And now we continue with the interview that I did with Richard Woods. You might recall from last time that Richard Woods is an award-winning entrepreneur. He was a finalist on BBC's The Apprentice. He's a best-selling author. And he's just got loads of experience, loads of energy, and really cares, in the same way that Tina and Tony do, actually, about helping you to be able to succeed at your business. Now, one of the things that Tina mentioned was the pay in 30 days, and we talked about how long Tony's been supporting that. You will hear in this conversation that Richard comes at it from a different angle, and I'll pick up on that at the end of that conversation. Richard and I met in a local pub accompanied by a beautiful fluffy dog. So as you will have heard in previous interviews, there may be some background noise and surrounding atmosphere as we have our conversation. So here we go now over to my interview with Richard Woods, talking mainly about the Lead Gen Academy and micro businesses.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Smash it.
So, Richard, obviously I know you from a number of different things, but what we're going to talk about today is about the Lead Gen Academy. And it would be great if you could just tell me a little bit about what the Lead Gen Academy does.
So Lead Gen Academy is a monthly event where we bring together entrepreneurs, marketers, whole marketing departments in some case, to learn about how to generate that all-important inquiry for your marketing. So be that from your website, be it a phone call into your business, be it direct message on social media. How do you create that lead, that first bit where someone says, I'm ready to actually potentially buy from you? And I've been fascinated about that since an early age. I've really enjoyed building websites when I first started my career, but kind of people would say, well, it's that analogy, if you build it, they'll come. And that doesn't happen on the online space. So I got fascinated about how do you get someone to actually take action on the website? How do you get someone to make a phone call? How do you get someone to fill in a ebook download for whatever it is? I've been writing books about it. I'm a double best-selling published author. First book, Digital Trailblazer, was part of my business plan to go onto the BBC The Apprentice. And I just my whole entire ethos has been about that little bit that is the lead, the little inquiry, and I love it. So that's why I set up the academy. I set up and it's not just the academy. Academy is a strange word, really, because actually it's more of a community, and we have a great Facebook community. We have a great physical community that comes to the event, and also an online community, and I just love it.
And what made you decide to, because you have these other businesses, so it's not that you were leaving something and decided to do something new as a restart or something. So what made you decide to add it into, I guess, the stable of businesses that you have, and to do it as a small business yourself?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So I have very much a portfolio approach to how my entrepreneurship is actually demonstrated. So I've got the lead generation agency, and it's a marketing agency, Yacht Marketing. So we do the big high level, $2-3 grand a month retainers, even higher in some cases, to do marketing for people. But I also have a website support company and a website agency where we build website called WPA, First Aid for Your WordPress website. So we do that. So that's kind of, we're doing it for people, but education is such an important part, because how can you let people know about all the wonderful things that you can do through Facebook ads or Instagram ads now, or how you can, like I'm doing at the moment, recruiting for people for less than £4.25, I think, is the average conversion of people applying for a highly paid boiler engineer job that I'm recruiting for at the moment, using only Facebook ads, whereas I would have been paying like $3.5 grand for a recruiter to come in to actually do that. Like those, the world of technology is out there to be taken, and it's to be reframed, and without you being introduced to all these wonderful techniques, you'll never know that they exist. And so that's what the Academy is all about, to show people the good, the bad, the ugly, the brilliant, the wonderful, the colourful, the unicorns and the rainbows of online digital marketing. And I love it. I love it.
And micro businesses come in all shapes and sizes. So some people might be, a cake maker who's happy to sell just a couple cakes a month because that's what their definition of success is. What is your definition of success?
Wow. Boom. Come on. I thought we were talking about lead generation here. My definition of success is to really feel that I'm happy looking back at, it's a one-on-one game for me. Like, I'd be lucky enough to do some wonderful things, to be on TV, to do all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people have said, oh, well done, you've done well. And actually, is that my definition of success? I don't think so. And when I actually look back at myself and go, well, have I really feel that I personally feel successful? And only I will know in that moment. And do you know what my genuine opinion is? I don't think I'll ever feel that I truly have been successful. That's for another podcast, Deborah.
Sorry, for people listening, they can see Richard, can see me opening my mouth to go.
Yeah, no, that's deep. That's for another day.
But will you at least feel you're doing okay?
I think the point is that there's a vision and a journey, and the vision that I've got, I know where I'm going with it, and that vision is very much on a case of trying to create something across all my businesses that genuinely delivers one of the best offerings, the best customer service. To give you an example, my boiler business. And I've got a boiler servicing business. It's my case study business. So I wanted a salt of the earth business that we could actually set up and run to show that we know about lead generation. So we've got this boiler business. We run around servicing boilers. We run around fixing boilers all over the southwest and southeast, ironically. And so we generate the leads, and then that generates the work. Now, I absolutely love that business because not only has it allowed me to know about I can generate lots of inquiries, but it actually helped me tap into the fact that the vision has to be bigger than that. And the vision's got to be about putting the customer first and foremost in the priority of the company and to deliver the most outstanding customer service that person has ever seen, and the best annual boiler service that they've ever received. And that annual boiler service, we've got so geeky about what that actually looks like. So we leave them a little boiler, a little radiator key, and a little book of how to bleed radiators, and we give them a nice printed report, and we make sure that we send them phone calls and emails beforehand, and get net promoter scores afterwards to make them happy, make sure that we try and get Google reviews out of them, check in mid-month for no reason at all, just checking in to say, how you're doing, now's a good time to bleed your radiators ahead of the winter because you don't want your heating to be able to get air pressure, and just like getting every single thing. Now an annual boiler service is like £98, a year, that's it. But that customer, that £198 annually, is so important to us because we want to be with them for decades. And that's what I've loved about having a proper salt of the earth business, is really getting into that vision of what that's all about. And if I'm on that journey, then I'm feeling successful.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're feeling success. I was worried for a minute there. That's right. It's about the business more, but that's okay.
It's about
that's
the
good.
customer.
And one of the things, again, micro businesses, all shapes and sizes, and people refer to themselves in different ways. So they refer to themselves as self-employed, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as micro business owners. And I just wondered what term resonates with you. Are you do you go out and say to people, I'm self-employed, or I'm a business owner, or I'm an entrepreneur? How would you describe?
I would describe myself as an entrepreneur. I think I would do because for me, it kind of entrepreneur means that I've got a number of businesses, and they're all in kind of micro business hustle mode. Some of them are a bit more, bigger with employees and staff. Some of them just startups. Some of them I'm even still answering the calls at the weekends, like the boiler business. So that's proper entrepreneurship, where it all ends with you and everything you're hustling out, etc. And I've got a million things going on with a million stuff, and some fail, some do well, some go great, some I've sold, some I've brought some, and I feel like that's the sort of typical trader entrepreneur side. Now you got solopreneurs that are individuals that are running the business on their own, and that's slightly more ambitious, in my opinion, than a freelancer or someone that's that sort of gets work subbed out to them, self-employed. And I love the solopreneur concept, because the people that I know that are true solopreneurs know that they'll be entrepreneurs at some point. They just haven't employed someone yet. It's about to happen. And so solopreneurs become entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs become world eaters. And I'm looking forward to becoming a world dominating business owner. So it's an interesting concept, but I just don't think anybody should be trying to label themselves really as anything. I think that when you know you're building a business, I think all you know is you're busy.
It's interesting because I've spoken obviously to a number of people, and they have very different responses. So some have said that they see themselves as a freelancer. Some have said as self-employed. Somebody else has said they see themselves as independent. So lots of different words, and it's just quite interesting to see what people do think of. And a few have actually said to me, I don't see myself as an entrepreneur. And I think actually in some of their cases they are right. And in your case, I do think entrepreneur applies. But so it is just interesting how people, and one person's word freelancer is a positive, and to another person it's a negative. So it's, I don't know, it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I think.
No, I think you're right. I think really the definition, if you really want to grow it, and also as you're growing it, you're sabotaging yourself because you're getting involved with other projects and you can't help it. You've got a shiny, you're like a magpie, you're like a shiny mentality. That shines, I want that shine. Then you probably are an entrepreneur, and you have entrepreneurs that constantly mess up for themselves because they get distracted by stuff. It's just kind of that entrepreneur mentality, and that's fine. You'll get successful ones and unsuccessful ones. You get good ones and bad ones. But that's what a solopreneur going into entrepreneur is. But I think a freelancer always is doing the stuff that they were doing employed for themselves, because they might be able to get more holiday, more flexibility, and a better per hour rate.
And I think that's it, that they're looking for something different. And, their definition of success is more about the lifestyle, about what they can achieve in that freedom.
There is still a small business. I mean, in the book that I wrote, Brexitpreneurship, I looked at small business employment, and 80% of private sector employment is the SME market, and that's a huge amount. And of course, all those solopreneurs and those freelancers, even just a person that knows they're a freelancer, are self-employed. And so that's part of the UK. 80% of private sector employment is that market.
And it is something like 5.5 million companies are micro businesses.
It's huge. And that equates to 50% of private sector GDPR. So it's a massive, and I was saying to when I was writing the book, that the tip for small businesses, as we're going through Brexit and as we're talking about this type of thing, the government has to keep the ship afloat in the small business sector as we do this, and all that money is going to be coming back from Europe, and even if everybody's skeptical, it's not actually going to come back, doesn't matter. The government has to keep the spike in the economy going up, because the SME sector is such a big employer, but it's also such a big contributor to the government's coffers, that it needs to keep infusing it with help for growth. And there's money from the LEPs, the local area, local enterprise partnerships, that previously got government money from the EU, which will now be able to draw down money locally from the UK, which means that it will give new opportunities to get funding yourself. There'll be incentives to be able to help exporters. If you ever think about exporting any of your services, like yourself, you could be doing podcasting training to people globally. You're now an exporter, and therefore you probably could still get access to some sort of exporters funding if you wanted to be able to actually do stuff. So it's worth speaking to your LEP to be able to say, I'm looking to be able to take my podcasting course globally, and I need to get some pay-per-click advertising spend to be able to do that. I want to maybe get some exporting coaching. I maybe want to get some help with the embassies that are within places like, South Africa or whatever, that are English-speaking countries that would work well for me. Can you help? And of course, they're like, oh, thank you. Someone's actually asked us, because nobody actually asks us, because nobody really knows what we do. And you go and ask. It's mental. Yeah. Do you know we have one of the best embassy networks globally in the UK, and it's a hangover from the imperial days. Okay. But we have some of the best embassy buildings, some of the most well-funded embassy programs, some of the best political people within countries, Zimbabwe, all over Africa, all over Australasia, all over the world. We're the most places we've got embassy buildings. And does anybody actually go to those embassies and ask those embassies to introduce them to business leaders in those places to see about exporting their services? No, they don't. And it's a resource that's paid for that we should be utilising.
But as you say, I never would have thought of myself as an exporter if I'm, offering services to people outside of the UK, because it's online, potentially, that sort of thing. So that would never have crossed my mind. And also, it wouldn't have crossed my mind to go to the embassies either. So as you say, it's just that awareness as much as anything.
And you might still sell exactly like you would have sold to that person that's sitting in, France, buying your services. But the fact that you're doing that means that you can draw down from a different pot of funding to help you do more of that, because the government knows that if we all just sell to each other internally, then the economy will only all go down. We have to export our way out of Brexit, because the economy needs that, and that might not generally be with the EU, that might be for non-EU places and all these deals that we're trying to do with other countries, and there's cash available if people want to do that. It's the tip of the day. Didn't think we'd go there, but that's the tip of the day.
I didn't think we were going there either, but
that's
it's a great tip of the day. So one of my questions that I've been asking people, but I think you might have just answered it already, is so Microbiz Matters, one of their campaigns is about pay in 30 days and trying to get the government to only work with businesses that commit to paying their suppliers in 30 days, so that it all starts to cascade down, so that the micro businesses and the smaller businesses aren't waiting, months and months. Yeah. So it's for the good of the micro businesses community generally. And so really just trying to see if you've got any ideas about, something else that might benefit micro businesses generally.
I mean, the pay in 30 days thing, I think that's, I think don't ever even aim for that. We take all our money up front before we do anything. We have retainers. We use something called Go Cardless, where people sign up to it. It means that we have a direct debit. So when we invoice and it's 7 days, the money does come out in 7 days. Don't give people 30. Who ever made 30 days creditors? I mean, that's just an arbitrary number that we all use. It's just a load of BS. You need to think about you and what you want to do. If someone goes into a shop and buys a pack of chewing gum, they're spending that money there, and then they go outside the shop and then they eat the chewing gum later. If someone's eating their chewing gum and in bloody a month's time they're coming back and paying for it, are you crazy? Why do we in the small business section, the B2B sector, even allow that? Every single person who works with us pays upfront, and then we deliver the content. And on a retainer thing like the Lead Gen Academy, if they decide that it's not for them throughout the month, that's fine. We cancel the DD and they don't come for the next month's event. That's no problem at all. They've had the content that month. We've had the money that month. It's a complete win-win. It's an amicable breakup. There's absolutely no worries at all. It's so easy. Why would you ever have a credit control department? Oh my God. Anyway, it's a problem that doesn't exist in my business, be that a boiler servicing business all the way through to, and when I went into boiler servicing business, all the other people said, oh, you can't take money before people actually go out and do work on people's housing. Everybody pays after the job's completed. We haven't had a problem at all. Everybody still does it. And it's no worries, it's just how you frame it and how professional you are and how confident they are that you are going to fix the problem. That's it. Anyway, so so that's the tip. The other tip is what gets measured gets improved. And this is the big thing for me. What you are able to measure in your business, you will improve upon. Numbers and dashboards set you free. If you're not looking at a dashboard of your business with all the numbers in terms of how many hits you get on your website, how many of those convert into downloads of ebooks and contacts and inquiries, how many of those become appointments, how many of those appointments become sales, what's the average reorder value of each one of those customers, what's the 12-month value of each customer. If that's not actually easily accessible on a Google Sheet or on a Gecko board or some sort of dashboard software, using someone like yourself, who I know is amazing at putting this automation and stuff together, you're a very technical person, and people should use you to do this sort of stuff. If they can't see on a click of the button all of those numbers in one dashboard, you are completely handicapping yourself, because what gets measured gets improved. If you look at the numbers, you'll move the numbers. So that's the quickest way to be able to scale your business.
Thank you. One last question. Microbiz Matters Day has a campaign. It doesn't have to happen on the day itself, but it's just about giving a leaven to support other micro businesses in some way. So is there anything that you could offer to support other micro businesses?
Well, the Lead Gen Academy is a wonderful place to come and learn about different types of marketing. In February, we're talking about Facebook and Instagram advertising as a good example. So I'm happy to give away 11 free tickets to the next Lead Gen Academy event. So if anyone wants to come and see us, leadgenacademy.co.uk, and they can come and direct message me, Richard_Woods on Twitter, and we will give away those free tickets for anybody that asks.
That is wonderful, and I can absolutely vouch for it being a very, I think I always use the word generous. It's all about giving you information and helping you to actually go out and do it, rather than leaving you with questions. So thank you very much.
Pleasure.
So first things first, if you haven't already tapped Richard up to see if any of those 11 tickets to the Lead Gen Academy for February are available, then why not do it now? I can tell you that it provides you with a wealth of information that you can actually act on and get out there and do what they're talking about. And I know that the speaker who's coming for the February one, Jordan Bucknall, he's got a wealth of knowledge about Facebook and Instagram advertising. That's all he does. So make sure you get in touch. Again, it was Richard_Woods on Twitter or leadgenacademy.co.uk. Now, as I said before, I wanted to pick up on the pay in 30 days because, as you would have gathered, Richard was very much about, well, why would you even want somebody to pay in 30 days? Why aren't you taking the money up front? And coming from a very different angle to what Tony's trying to do. And I think that what we need to do is that is that Richard is coming at it from if you're in the position of setting your terms, of setting the control around when you're going to get paid, then absolutely do not go for 30 days. Go for, 7 days. Just get the money in. And people, I think, are starting to understand and work much more easily with that, especially with technology and things like Go Cardless, where it can all be automated, but you can stop it at any point. But if you're working for businesses that are actually much bigger, if they're coming down where your business is ultimately coming through some of the really large corporate organizations, at this point in time, they have very long payment periods. Some of them are up to, I think it's 120 days. And so what Tony's campaign is about is to get those companies to be paying their suppliers in no more than 30 days, and to get the government only agreeing to work with companies that pay in at least 30 days. So while being paid up in advance would be fantastic, and I completely support Richard in doing that in your business if you can, there are the realities of our world as well, where in some cases getting it to 30 days is in itself a huge success and is going to put you much further ahead. So they might sound like they were talking or disagreeing, but the reality is they both just want to make sure that small businesses, micro businesses get the money that they're owed, and they get that in a timely fashion, rather than encountering some of the cash flow problems that occurs when, if you do the work and you don't get it for another 4 months, you may or may not have the cash to keep yourself going until that paycheck arrives. Anyway, that was all I wanted to just kind of, wrap up. So thank you all very much. Richard again was absolutely amazing. It was lovely to catch up with Tina again. And great news, Tina is going to be coming back on the show for one of my normal episodes. So we'll learn a little bit more about her journey, as opposed to just focusing on the Microbiz Matters aspects of it. The rest of the interviews that I've done with the other micro business owners, they will be coming out at different intervals. I'm not sure yet whether I'll be adding them on to every one of the normal Bridging Gaps to Business podcast episodes, or whether they'll be gathered together, but you will be hearing more from everybody that I interviewed or who sent in their details to me, because I know a few people, we had a couple of glitches, and I've got some written responses as well. So have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bridging Gaps, the business podcast, was produced by Deborah Levitt of Bridge Road Consultants Limited, with original music provided by Pete Dineley.
You've been listening to Deborah Levitt on Bridging Gaps, the business podcast.